It's an early misty morning in Cincinnati's Eden Park, and you're taking in the quiet serenity when you notice you aren't alone. Just before you, standing, is a lady dressed in black from head to toe in what looks like vintage clothes. She stares sad and mournful over the rippling water of Mirror Lake. You approach her, but before a sound could pass your lips, she evaporates into the mist around you. You have just encountered the Lady in Black of Eden Park, one of Cincinnati's most famous ghosts. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hometown Haunts podcast, a show that brings you the strange and spooky stories from around the world to your neck of the woods. I am haunted historian, cartoonist, and host of the show, Cat Cloco, and my friends, my co hosts. That makes it sound like I have some authority over you, which we don't. We're all egalitarian here. Christina Wald and Jen Kohler, who are along with me on this journey into the unknown. Hi, everyone. We're back.
Hello.
It's a new year.
Uh-huh.
Happy Lunar New Year.
Yay!
That just happened.
Year of the Snake.
It's a year of the
Yes.
snake. I love snakes, so I'm excited. I found a frog today. I'm just so happy with amphibians. And anyway, how's everyone doing?
Very good.
All right. Yeah.
Except moderately. Good in some ways, terrible in others.
Yes.
It has. What did I write earlier on Blue Sky? Every day feels like a million molecules or something like that. It was poetic and sciencey, and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It's
But
gonna feel like that.
yeah, it drags on every day. And now we're under Snowmageddon here in
Oh, wow.
Western Washington, which I'm going to be honest, in the Midwest growing up, I always thought of out west as being able to handle snow, and it's that cozy log cabin feeling. And it turns out, no, it's the opposite. When it snows, everyone panics and no one can drive, and we're all on the mountain, so we're just flipping our cars down the mountainside. It's fun.
That's scary.
I watched 4 different cars go into ditches when I was walking my dogs.
Oh
Wow.
So, yeah.
no. Be careful.
It was bananas. Yeah, it ended up we went through the forest. We basically made our own way because the forest was safer than a car crashing like down the road and hitting all of us. So
Yeah.
that was super serene photos. I put them up on Blue Sky and I was just like, look at this beautiful, serene, snowy landscape, which I'm totally walking this way so I don't die from vehicle collision.
I felt like
So-
it would be like a look at this beautiful view, pan right, car upside down in the ditch.
Only thing that would make it worse than a meme would be it would be on fire.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway, let's see where we're going. Show notes. We finished projects during the holidays. Christina, you have cool things about places far away.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a couple spaces open for the Tuscany workshop. And I'm going to be also doing a little sketch tour to Sicily, like the end of May. That's going to be less workshoppy and just sketching. And then we're starting to look for people to go to Romania. So we're going to be going to Romania in September. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll put links in the show notes.
Wow.
And I'm finishing my Romania travelogue. You were just describing before we got on all the last minute details when you put together a book, and it's just anything that you're setting up book wise, from the editing to there's just like endless details. And every time you print a proof that you think is your last one, there's 10 misspellings on it or weird.
Find something else.
Yes, actually, usually when you get a printer's proof that you're like, how did this typo get in there?
Yeah.
I think they just appear.
So, when in September are you going to Romania? Do you remember off the top of your head?
We are going. At the moment, we're planning. It depends if we get enough people for 2. The first one starts, I believe, September 1st, and the second one starts September 17th. And they're
Okay.
they're each 15-day trips around Transylvania.
Oh, fun.
I am so tempted.
You should go. It's really cool.
I'm so
Are
tempted.
you going to Dracula's castle?
Oh, yes, we will be going on both Castle Bran. Now, they have a lot of like sort of folklore stuff around there, but it's not clear that Vlad Tepes actually ever was there.
Not the point.
No, yeah. It's pretty much. It's kind of like when you go to Chateau d'If in France, which is the Man in the Iron Mask, the famous island there, but it's a fictional character, so it never happened. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Castle Bran is very similar to that.
You
but
can
it's
stay
fun.
there, can't you? Castle Bran?
You can rent it for events, but
wow.
I don't think you can actually sleep there. But there's
Okay.
certainly lots of really nice bed and breakfasts and stuff like that around there, and what they call pensions, which are little tiny like houses that have rooms that you can kind of like Airbnb before there was Airbnb.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really cool places to stay there. So it should be an exciting trip. We're visiting some of my favorite cities in Transylvania, like Sigishwara, which if you're a D&D fan, like some of those cities are very much like little medieval towns and stuff.
Weren't some of them in The Witcher?
Probably. They do a
Yeah.
lot of shooting of films, particularly fantasy in Romania, because there's a lot of old growth forest there and a lot of really beautiful old architecture.
Yeah.
And just really interesting. They have guild towers, like Sigishwara has guild towers built by, like, say, the clockmaker's tower and the shoemaker's tower and the blacksmith's tower. And it's still, if you've ever been to Toledo in Spain, it's a like a working fortress, but normal people live there. It's not just a tourist sort of trap kind of place. The hotel we stay at there has been recorded as a hotel since like the 1300s or something.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a book.
Go.
Yeah, the random fun fact, this is small community. So the most recent expansion pack for Sims 4 is modeled after Romania.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is what Romania looks like in a simulated world. But anyway,
that's cool. I kind of want to see that now.
Oh, I'll find you a screen grab. It's
it's
the life and death pack, and they went to Romania and got a lot of inspiration from there. So it looks very vampire-y, and I love it.
Oh, cool. So tell us about the kickoff party.
Oh, yes, I'm excited about this. We are doing a book launch party on February 28th at Indy Northern Kentucky Small Press Bookstore in Dayton, Kentucky. And this is to launch the third installment of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities comics anthology titled Haunts and Horrors, which is why we have our friend Lauren here today to talk about the Lady in Black story that she illustrated and our fine friend here, Jen, wrote. So we're working with both the Indy Northern Kentucky Bookstore and Cincy and Northern Kentucky Comics Club to put together this event. We'll have book signings, live comic readings, which are really fun, and original art on display from the anthology. It will be a fun, nerdy shindig for those comic enthusiasts around Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. And with that means that finally, after 3 years, the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities Haunts and Horrors anthology is finally complete. We finished it 2 weeks ago. Yay! We brought together 12 artists over the course of 3 years with 6 more stories to frighten and entertain you. And the book drops, as I said, February 28th. If you can't make it to the launch party, we will have it at the Loveland Frogman Festival March 1st and 2nd. That's literally the next day, that weekend. And Corpse Flower Press has a table there. We'll be selling that and all the other issues, plus some other goodies. We have new stickers. We have some new prints. It'll be fun. So I hope everyone who listens to the podcast can come join us in Cincinnati the first weekend of March, which is in 4 weeks, for a big old cryptid hoedown, essentially.
And people in costumes are encouraged.
Yes. Oh, yes. I am hoping that the Fresno Nightcrawler or Nightwalker, I always get that name wrong, is going to come back along with, Crawler.
I think so, because the Night Stalker is
Stalker's
Richard
a serial killer.
Ramirez. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Crawler.
It's
Yeah, okay.
Nightcrawler.
I think it's Nightcrawler. Okay, just like the X-Men. And just in Fresno. And and then our Mothman friend who always shows up with the towel and the googly eyes. So
Yes.
all right. With that all announced, Jen, did you have anything?
No. I have a new kitten.
Yes,
oh,
you
yes.
have.
Is he with you? Can you show him?
He is in the other room at the moment, which is surprising because every time I have my office door open, he's in here chewing on all the cords and getting his face and everything he can. But I guess he tired himself out. So he may come in later, he may not. But
I hope we see him before the end of the show.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
he's a little jerk. He's bullying Clover.
No.
But she smacks him down, so that's good.
Oh, that's good. Boundaries.
That's
It occurred to me that my name is Kat, and everyone else here has cats, and I'm the only one with dogs.
Yep.
It was just one of those.
Because you're allergic.
Yes.
Irony.
Yeah.
Even though I grew up with cats, but yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting. What is your cat's
Jensen.
name?
Okay,
Jensen.
his name is his full proper name, Lord Jensen Winchester. Yes, after Jensen Ackles, the actor who plays Dean Winchester on Supernatural. Girl is obsessed with her man Jensen, so his name is Jensen. Although when I yell at him, I call him Victor because it just comes out, and that's my nephew's name. So when I yell I'm used to yelling at my nephew. And so they're the same in my eyes, cats are people. Sorry.
They sure consider themselves to be.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
And I haven't had a kitten in a very, very long time, so it's been interesting, that's for sure.
Energy.
So much energy and so many scratches, and I'm covered in them.
Yeah.
But I ask for it.
That's kind of funny that you call your cat Victor when you're yelling at it.
It just comes out. It's just like, my grandma calling me my cousin's name when she was yelling at us when we were kids, because she would have to cycle through all the names before she hit the right one. Yeah.
My mom called me my dad's name.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, moving on to tonight's show. Tonight we welcome to the show Lauren Sparks to join Jen to talk about their work, Lady in Black, for the recent issue of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities. So, Lauren Sparks is a visual storyteller who lives physically in Covington, Kentucky, and on the internet at Winged Elf Girl. She works most often in ink, watercolor, Photoshop, and Illustrator. Her comics have appeared in projects such as the Ringo Award-nominated Votes for Women, the Battle for the 19th Amendment Comics Anthology with Little Red Bird Press, and the Tideline Zine series from Cincinnati-based Serial Box Studio. You can follow her on social media or purchase her illustrations, comics, and zines via the links on her link tree, which we will put in the show notes and also spread on social media, because it is a long URL that I'm not reading right now. Welcome, Lauren!
Hi! It occurs to me I should have put that in my little sub thing on the chat. I just put Winged Elf Girl. Oops.
It's Winged Elf Girl wherever you go on social media.
Yeah.
So A+ for branding.
Right.
There's a lot of social media sites that I do not use, but I just go and grab the name just in case, because I don't.
Yes. I
Good
also
idea.
like how you always have the swish of green hair, and that's also pretty much your, I'm going to say, not mascot. Oh, words with me today.
It's my trademark.
There you go.
Yeah.
Signature.
Signature.
Wherever we go
always
and there's a
blue and
convention, is the green
Always-
swish. And I'm like,
I know,
that's
yeah.
Lauren. And you do a lot of help at CXC.
Mhm.
So that's always really good. Yay.
Yeah.
So,
Yay,
Oh,
Lauren.
Get all my vitamins because I run around so much during the CXC.
yes,
Oh,
you
gosh,
do.
Yes.
You should have winged shoes on.
It's
Yes.
So, before we really dive into questions that I have for Lauren and Jen, and also Christina, if you have any questions for them as well, please join in. I do want to go over the ghost story and what the history of Imogen Remus, because I think it's been quite a few, I'm looking at my watch, years since we talked about George Remus and
Mhm.
really what Imogen and George did to Cincinnati about 100 years ago. I just thought it's been 100 years since George was in prison because he
You,
was incarcerated in 1925.
yep.
I saw something recently on social media. It was a picture of Imogene Remus in her Price Hill home.
Hmm.
No one knew who she was or who her husband was. I
Yes.
was just like, huh?
Well, Boardwalk Empire made him really famous again,
Yeah.
and but I do find it troubling, and we can talk about this later. How most people, even Wikipedia, does not have its own article about her. She's always lumped in with George as a
Yeah.
footnote to his history,
Right.
and I'm like, she lived for 39 years,
Hmm.
most of them without him.
Yeah.
So it's just
And
she
would
just
have lived longer if it weren't for him.
yeah. Exactly. So, and also, if you have any questions, feel free to just chime in and make conversation as I'm reading this, because otherwise, I sound like a live Wikipedia article. So, the ghost story and all the back history. Um, and as I just said, dedicated listeners have and historians know about the history of George Remus and Imogene Brown Remus, and just wanted to take a little bit of time to do the rehash. So, George Remus was known as the king of bootleggers, and his queen, of course, was Imogene. The pair met in Chicago in 1915 when George was still an attorney representing some of Chicago's most notorious criminals, and she was a deli clerk. He later hired Imogene to be his secretary, which she kept that role from 1915 to about 1920. In the 1920s, Prohibition started in January of that year, and Remus saw that a lot of his clients were becoming extremely wealthy very quickly from bootlegging alcohol. He actually memorized the Volstead Act, which is what Prohibition was, and found a loophole that allowed him to buy distilleries and pharmacies. He had a pharmacy license from a previous job to produce and sell bonded liquor for medicinal purposes under a government license. So he got one of those licenses, and he already was a pharmacist, so all he needed was the distilleries. Where are those distilleries? In Cincinnati, Ohio. So he and Imogene moved there, where 80% of bonded liquor was produced at the time. They started their own bootlegging empire from then on. So George, with his own pharmacy license, as I said from the previous job, would buy uh, liquor distilleries around Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, and southern Ohio. He had quite a few. And basically, they would produce the bonded liquor, take it, and on its way to be shipped to the pharmacy, his own employees would rob themselves, and then they would take all the liquor that was robbed and sell it on the black market for a profit. They made $40 million doing this.
Jesus.
He had over 3,000 employees between Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And he also, at his height, was doing 1/7 the amount, selling 1/7 of the bonded liquor in the United States.
Yeah.
So these people were extremely wealthy very quickly. George and Imogene were married in June of 1920 in Newport, Kentucky. This was the second marriage for both of them, and they had daughters from their previous marriages. And they flaunted their money, hosting lavish parties on their estate, the Marble Palace, which, like, we were just talking about seeing photos of the Marble Palace.
Mhm.
It was on
Sad it's
Hermosa
not there
Avenue in
anymore.
Price Hill. Sorry?
I'm sad it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is gone now.
It's
All
so.
Hmm?
Yes, very sad.
Yeah, it was. There are photos. The Cincinnati Enquirer shared a few. Imogene is seen modeling in some of them, so I do
Mhm.
appreciate that. She's just like, "This is my bedroom. This is my mirror. This is my garden. This is my piano. Like, and man, the amount of ferns that were in the Marble
Yes.
Palace, I was just like, wow, what's the humidity like? Like, there's so many
Maybe they
ferns.
needed it.
Ferns do well with some humidity, at least
Yeah.
50% in the air. So she says living in a fern. Anyway.
I'm glad for those photos. I used a couple of them for reference.
Yeah, there's at least a lot of old photos. Since they were so wealthy, they would actually pass out photos that were taken at their parties. They were printed during the party, and then
Wow.
before people left, they would hand them out. So that's one reason why they're so well documented. It's because they were rich, and they're just like, well, we're literally printing our own photography.
How long did their parties last? That could... Wow.
Hours.
Wow.
So notable events, now that you bring up parties, were the 1922 New Year's Eve party, which had 100 couples that were some of the wealthiest people of Cincinnati attending. And when everyone left, not only did you get your complimentary photo of the evening, but also all the men got diamond stick pins, which is for your tie, and all the women got a brand new car. And I was just like, stick pins were just expensive as a car.
Like Oprah.
Yeah. You get a car. You get a stick pin. You get a car.
But how big was the diamond on the stick pin?
That is also a very good question.
Jealous.
And do any of them still exist? And then another one is another example for a party is Imogene's birthday party in 1923, at which she appeared in a daring bathing suit along with aquatic dancers serenaded by a 15-piece orchestra. I'm just like,
rich people.
Rich people. Yes.
Wow.
So trouble began in 1925 when George was arrested and tried for violations of the Volstead Act and sent to the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary in Georgia. There, he befriended a fellow inmate, Franklin Dodge, and told him all about how his wife Imogene was in charge of the business in Cincinnati. What he didn't know at the time was that Dodge was an undercover agent who immediately dismissed himself from the case and out of prison and booked it to Cincinnati so that he could start an affair with Imogene. The two of them, Dodge and Imogene, then liquidated the entire estate, only giving Remus $100 when he left the penitentiary, and along with divorce papers. So yeah, they also hid all the money as well. But man, they were very wealthy for a short amount of time. They tried to get George Remus deported back to Germany. He was originally born in Germany and immigrated to Chicago with his family in the 1800s. They failed. And then they actually hired an assassin to take a hit on him. And that failed because the assassin was too afraid that if he failed, that George Remus would use his mob connections to make sure that guy would pay. So they were really desperate to make sure that they could get rid of him as best they could, and they failed both ways. Which brings us to October 6, 1927. So at the time, both parties had to physically show up at the court in front of a judge to be formally divorced. And Imogene and her daughter Ruth were taking a taxi from their hotel in Walnut Hills towards the courthouse in downtown Cincinnati that morning. George was already in his chauffeured car, which was a Buick, which is apparently very large at the time, and ordered his chauffeur to follow him in a Hollywood-style car chase through Walnut Hills and Eden Park. George's chauffeur finally managed to basically ram the taxi off the road. Imogene managed to crawl out of the taxi and started to run away. George caught up with her and with his pearl-handled pistol shot her once in the stomach. She was immediately taken to Bethesda Hospital. She underwent surgery but died a few hours later. She was 39 years old. Ever since that misty morning in 1927, Imogene has reappeared at the gazebo in Eden Park on the anniversary of her death. Give or take a week. She's been seen as early as late September, and she's been seen as late as about October 15th. Usually she's seen at dusk or dawn. The reports claim that a woman dressed in all black 1920s clothes silently gazes towards Mirror Lake almost to Kentucky, honestly, because if you follow that line of vision, it goes right to Covington, Kentucky, or Newport. And when she's approached by anyone, joggers, dog walkers, other motorists, she immediately just vanishes into the mist. And she has been seen for nearly 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually had a friend who was an avid morning jogger, and he would jog in Eden Park specifically just to try to catch a glimpse of her in October. Yeah, it was fun. And
Did
he
he?
would report back and say, I didn't find anything, but I found this cute dog.
Aw.
Aw.
Or I didn't find anything, but I got chased by a Canadian goose. Like,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Normal.
Yeah.
Normal things. So, Imogene's still there. She's kind of a silent witness to everything, which brings us to your adaptation of the story. So, Jen, you were the writer. Lauren, you are the illustrator. Did you know about this ghost story before you worked on this project?
Yes. I knew about Remus and him killing his wife because I used to work at the Enquirer, and friend of the podcast, Jeff Cease,
Woohoo.
we would sit and talk about it all the time. And while we should have been working. And then I really didn't know about the ghost story until I started doing this podcast. But yeah, and now she's forever in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren, how
Never
about
gonna
you?
leave.
I didn't. I kind of generally knew that some gangsters had a car chase and somebody got killed in the park in 1927 just from living near there. But I didn't know any of the details until I started working on this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the biggest historical errors I see other journalists, I'm going to say book writers, podcasts say is they assume because it has to do with mobsters, it happened in the 30s because they're thinking Chicago in the 30s. And I'm like, no, it happened surprisingly in the 1920s.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're able to retell the story of Imogene. So,
Well, I
Go
was
ahead,
going to
Jen.
say the outcome of him shooting her, he was arrested, pretty much treated like a celebrity while he was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he served I can't remember if he was convicted or not. I think he was, or maybe he wasn't, but he didn't really suffer any consequence.
So it's fun. I say this fun not in a wee way, but interesting, and interesting things to me are fun. I put up a photo of him with his defense lawyer, and there is a beautiful woman sitting in between him and his defense lawyer. That is his daughter, Romola Remus, who was a famous childhood actress.
Yes.
And so because she would
the murder,
show up,
correct? Was it that daughter?
No, Ruth was the
It
one
was
who
Ruth.
witnessed the murder,
That's right.
and that
Okay.
was Imogene's biological daughter
Okay.
from her first marriage.
Gotcha.
And it's because Romola was present, that brought even more photogs to the area because there's a Hollywood actress who's present for her father's murder trial, murder trial. And he was, I believe, it's been a while, so caveat there. He was the one who invented the innocent but due to insanity.
Oh, really?
Temporary
Defense.
insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, temporary insanity. He used it in this case.
Nope.
Yeah, and it worked. And he did not invent it for this case. He actually invented it for a different client back in Chicago. But he used it here, and he did not get incarcerated in a penitentiary. He did get incarcerated for about 18 months in the Lima hospital for the mentally insane.
Yeah, he wasn't
And
insane.
He wasn't insane, and he also left after only a few months.
Yeah.
He remarried again, retired to Newport, Covington, Kentucky, was part of it was a construction business for a while. Then he had a stroke, and 2 years later died of complications from the stroke in 1952.
Good riddance.
Yeah, good riddance. I mean, he had a history of violence towards her before all of this.
Yeah,
too.
history of violence. It was actually his first wife that filed for divorce from him because of assault.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was Lillian back in Chicago in 1915.
Mhm.
And yeah, it he definitely was not a nice person to really anybody. And
No.
also, what I love is that you included the fact that he talked about himself in the third person, like the royal we. And I thought that was a wonderful addition to put because I
Yeah.
had forgotten about that when I suggested it.
I mean, I knew about it, and then I watched Boardwalk Empire, and I was just like, oh yeah. And the actor
good
who played
series.
him on Boardwalk Empire was really good.
Yeah.
Who is the actor?
Oh, I can't remember his name. I recognize him. I can't keep trivia facts in my head anymore. I don't even know what day it is half the time. But
I'm looking it up right now.
okay. I can't even remember what I wrote. So did I write it that way?
Glenn
In the
Flesher.
outline?
You did, yeah.
I did. Okay. So yeah. He was a
And I like
character.
how you adapted it, Lauren, with him just nonstop chatting in the word balloon the entire time. Like even when I was going over the edits and everything, I would just smirk and go, "That was so clever," and like mentally high five you. Like, I was just like, "I love this." It's such a good way of illustrating just one how naggy he was,
Yeah.
and then just also how he would speak in like Georgie wants a sausage today. Is Georgie going to get some more coffee? Is Georgie going to shoot you in the stomach? Like,
I mean, that is a good indication of insanity, I guess. Maybe.
Or just being full of himself.
yeah,
Yes, egomaniacal. Yeah.
oh, it's like yeah. But it was a good touch. I love that. So Christina, do you have any questions? I don't want to take over the entire show.
Oh no! I mean, I've just been enjoying listening. I always
Kat
like to
doesn't
hear
wanna
about
do
the.
that.
Hey, that's how you should start talking about yourself now.
No.
I mean, it's interesting because there's a novel out about it. They were selling it at Hierophany and Hedge. I've not read it. Have you? Either of you read the book?
I have not, but I do have a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it, from what I understand, it is the pretty much the comprehensive like book of blah 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 words.
It's been a while.
Of the situation.
Talking is hard.
Yeah. But yeah, it I think is the foremost resource that people go to when referring to this.
Yeah.
To Remus and the story.
Of course,
Yeah.
the Ken Burns documentary is my favorite thing of it. They did a very good. I mean, their whole Prohibition series that Ken Burns did was extremely interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, the Remus story has a pretty large segment in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was. Did you say it was 1/7 of
1/7 of all bonded liquor
in the
was
country
coming from George. Yeah.
And I didn't know so many of it. So much of it was brewed in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, up until Prohibition, Cincinnati was a very big alcohol town. We had a lot of breweries, which we see now with our local breweries, but just a spider web underneath OTR and a lot of older Cincinnati are just these subterranean brewing tunnels. And the place where Ghost Baby is located, I am not completely sure if it's still open, but that particular
that place was supposed to be really cool. I didn't get to go there though.
Yeah.
Is it closed?
I don't know. I'd like to go. We should go.
Yeah, we should.
Well, it's supposed to be very haunted. So
let's go when you come to town. We can do a special remote episode there.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I want to do. There's like a historical tour in the beer tunnels and over the ride.
That would be really cool to go to. Carrie Nation said she couldn't smash all the bars in Cincinnati.
Yes.
Yeah, there are too many.
Yeah.
Well, we are out. Our German history lends itself to that too.
We like booze.
It does.
We like booze.
Yeah. But Cincinnati was a huge town, and Prohibition kind of took the knees out from under the just It just kind of crippled a lot of our economy. But
I did
getting
go on one of those tours. I don't think it was a Prohibition one, but I did get to go down into one of the, and there's no air movement in there. It's really kind of weird. It's really cool. You would not want to be stuck in there for too long. You'd probably die, but it was neat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in the one tunnel under the No Theater, but
Yeah.
That might have been. It's been so. God, I can't remember.
Well, there was
anything.
that. They did that messed experience in the tunnels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where was
That's the Ghost Baby Tunnel. That's
Oh,
the
is that
same
what
one.
okay.
Okay.
That
Okay.
one?
So
Yep. That's the same one.
Okay.
It
Did
used
you
to
do
have a
the
bowling
tour?
alley in it.
did you do the tour? Did you do the messed tour?
yeah,
No.
I did.
No.
Because I was going to ask if you saw any ghosts. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I was just reading the giant comics.
I mean, I went to see it too, and I didn't see ghosts, but I don't usually see ghosts.
Right. Yeah. No, I wasn't able to
There.
go because I was pregnant with little dude and it was just too dangerous to be down there at the
Mhm.
time. So
You had to
or
like
pregnant.
sign a waiver.
Yeah.
to
And I was just
climb
like,
in.
you know what? I'm just not gonna risk that.
We really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great idea.
It was
They
a
should-
great idea. I'm sad couldn't go, but I love the idea of comic pages blown up into giant proportions and
Mhm.
being able to be on display and everything. That it was I loved the photos. I'm glad people were able to go there. It was well attended. So yay,
Mhm.
Jay, who's also a contributor on this
Yes.
anthology as well. He wrote the Grassman stories, which we had on a few months ago at this point.
Yeah, I
but-
was going to say we had him on a while ago.
Yeah.
So, but there will be
Yeah.
more people from the issue leading up to the party.
Mhm, exactly. Which getting back to the issue, so Jen, when you were writing the script, did you
Mhm.
find anything tricky about adapting the historical events? Because I only gave you 6 pages to
You
tell the
did.
story.
And I've never written a comic before. This is my first one. And as we've talked about before, there's no standard formation or like script writing for it.
Mhm,
And me coming from a creative writing background, I want to make everything super long. So I just started basically writing a story and I wanted to keep going actually. But I had to stop myself. But I wanted to give you enough to edit and adapt and hopefully gave Lauren enough to give her what I was trying to think of visually.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I reread it today and I was like remembering, I'm like, oh, we had to cut so much and compress it.
which I
got
totally
sad again.
knew was going to happen. I
Mhm.
just wanted to give you enough to bring it out visually, if that makes sense. And at that point, Lauren and I hadn't even met, I don't think.
mhm.
Nah.
No.
And maybe except on the podcast.
Yeah,
think
we
you were on the
had you
podcast
on the
before that.
podcast a couple times. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it was tricky. I don't even think I fully have like seen the finished version in depth yet.
I thought I
So
sent it to you.
you showed it to me. I don't have a copy of it, which is fine.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm either way. Comics are interesting for me because I never thought I would ever write one. Never thought I would be friends with someone, let alone on a podcast that was devoted to them. So all of this is new to me. And they're 100% on the illustrator. Really. I mean, I can give you so much with words, but then you gotta bring that out. And I always wish with my photography I could do that, but it's different when you have to like make it out of nothing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Well, I loved how cinematic you made it. So
okay.
that was really great.
I mean, it was all action, right? Chased her down and shot her. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to try to do the more of the domestic abuse angle, because
Mhm.
really that's what it was.
Mhm.
You know, this woman, and from all accounts, I've heard that she wasn't the nicest person either. But no one needs, just because she wants to divorce you does not deserve to be gunned down in front of her daughter in broad daylight.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what she did to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't get your money legally. She had every right to it just as much as you did.
Yeah.
You were married.
That is true. They were.
So, yeah.
Well, a jury of his peers, all dudes, acquitted him.
Yeah.
It was the first time, that someone was acquitted of murder for temporary insanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
And,
checks out right.
I can understand that to a degree. I have had anger issues in the past, and I have been very angry in the moment where I could have gone completely off the rails, but I have never flipped that switch. So I can understand how people can get to that point. What I don't understand is how you can go past that point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand. And I guess that's what I don't have in me, but people like Remus or any of the other people that kill their spouses have.
Mm-hmm.
I still
So.
get so mad when I think about that history. Like, I know that the story in the comic is all based on Imogene's point of view, so it ends when she dies. But the
Yeah.
whole
Right.
thing of him getting acquitted of it just makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, you could do a graphic novel of the story, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And there's
From
so much
Imogene's
there.
perspective.
Yeah.
Because I think this is actually the first piece of media that comes from Imogene's perspective instead of George's,
Good.
which makes it remarkable in that
Because
way.
she had a hand in things too.
Yes, she was
wasn't
managing
just-
everything.
Yeah, she wasn't just sitting by the sidelines spending his money, and
Mhm.
planning parties. She understood the business. That's probably why she did what she did.
Mhm.
He was in jail. Take the money and run, girl. Take the money and run. I don't blame her.
Mhm.
Oh, and here's a very cute FBI agent who knows everything and is going to
Right?
help me.
Yes.
She has
Yeah.
a protector, although he wasn't with her. I don't think they were together on that day.
No,
or were they
No,
in
they
a
weren't.
relationship that day? No.
Yeah.
So she
It
tried.
has all the drama. I mean, it definitely is one of those stories that is so dramatic and so interesting.
Mhm.
Well, and
that-
the audacity of running someone down in broad daylight and killing them. I mean, I
Mhm.
guess that's a mobster mentality. I don't know, but
Yeah. Is that
right now I can
all the
only equate it
gangsters-
to Will Smith smacking Chris Rock on the Oscar stage.
Well, I mean, stuff like
know.
that still happens. I used to work at Coactive Marketing. There was a girl who lived in Pleasant Ridge, and another friend of ours had a red CRV, and
Mhm.
a friend of mine, she saw a red CRV zoom up the street. Another car was chasing it. The CRV flipped over. A guy got out of the other car and shot the person in the CRV and walked around and shot the other person. All the people in the neighborhood saw it. And she had to testify. And this was just like 15 years ago.
Oh my
And she was
Wow.
terrified because another friend of ours had a car that looked just like it, but it wasn't hers.
Oh, thank
But
God.
that does still happen. It's my
Mhm.
thing. And
I
that was
know.
in Cincinnati.
I know
Pleasant
it.
Ridge.
I guess that's a violent mentality.
Yeah, who knows what the reason was? A drug
Yeah.
shooting or something like that? I don't know.
Or they
Mhm.
feel they're empowered or emboldened by their anger and they're justified. They feel justified in what they're doing. And
Hmm.
from their point of view, they're not doing anything wrong, I guess.
George
Yeah.
is angry.
You
The
must
sword has
pay.
a gun.
I mean, I think people are desensitized to violence even more now because of
Oh, yeah.
television, and there's a lot of young people involved in violence and shootings
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And I mean, even today as we record, they just had a mass shooting in Sweden, of
Oh,
all places.
not Sweden.
Yes.
No.
Matter of fact, a friend of mine from Sweden was posting about it. It was really a bummer.
Oh,
But
wow.
one always hopes that people
That's
will get
supposed to
less
be a
violent.
happy place.
Yeah, I
Sweden's
thought they
supposed to
scored
be a
really
happy
high on that
place.
metric.
But it has humans.
It does have
Yeah,
humans on it.
except for humans. Yeah, but I think that people are fascinated about stories like this where
Mhm.
someone's rich and
Yeah.
gets away with it, which seems to happen a lot
Yeah.
still,
Mhm.
and back then too.
Indeed.
I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
always, I have always been a fan of violence in cinema and hold on, in fake violence.
Please finish
right?
that thought.
I think that should be a blurb on something.
Sorry.
I've always been a fan of violence.
I have. Well, you know, I grew up in the 80s where the action hero was like
Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, Die Hard, all of them. I loved the violence, and I also love revenge stories, right? Because I'm a fan of revenge. I would get revenge if I could and not get caught, but I'm not smart enough not to get caught. So I get those feelings out in movies and media and books or whatever, and that's when I started listening and watching true crime. But as I've gotten older, and I have kids in my life, and I have been listening to true crime for however many years now, I can't take it anymore. Like, I have to parcel it out now. I don't listen to it all day, every day like I used to. And I get sick of it. I get sick of it because it's always women getting killed. The majority, it's women getting killed. And it just pisses me off. And so I just end up screaming at my TV and angry. But if it's fake, okay.
That's why I couldn't watch. That's why I couldn't watch that Hannibal show, because I have a lot of friends that love that show. I have friends that are fannibals, and I watched. I watched like 4 or 5 episodes, and I just couldn't. Too much violence against women. I just couldn't watch anymore.
Yeah.
I liked it more for the visuals, and I have read the books, and you know,
I
but
haven't watched.
It's
that.
different reading it and seeing in your mind's eye, and then you're watching it on TV. I mean, I couldn't watch the Dahmer series because you know that really happened. At least Hannibal Lecter wasn't real.
That's true.
And I couldn't. I'm just like, okay, I think I turned it off at the 2nd or the 3rd episode, which I never do. No matter how something is bad, how bad something is, not that the show was bad, I always I watch it, I finish it. This I couldn't do it. I'm like, their families are still alive. This is not okay.
And there was some controversy about that series too, that the families were not happy about it.
No,
they hadn't been informed or anything like that. And there was a lot of discourse online about how, oh, you cast such a sexy actor as the serial killer, and everyone's like, oh, he's so hot, we love him.
I mean, Evan Peters, good, fantastic actor. He really goes to those dark places. But they were showing how Dahmer killed his victims. Why the hell would you do that knowing their families are going to see that? Yes, it happened. We can read about it all we want. Fine. We don't need to see it acted out for us. We don't. Because we can't. No. And it just.
And even if the families are like, I'm not watching that because I'm the family member, everyone else around them is watching them and asking
and talking to them about it and making comments.
Questions.
And maybe even blaming, because people do stupid stuff like that and blame the victims. And it's just, okay, I couldn't watch it.
As a short aside, it reminds me, I think it's Gacy, John Wayne Gacy's daughter has written a book about basically being the survivor of a serial killer. And it touches on a lot of the points that you just brought up.
BTK's daughter did too.
Okay, that's who I'm thinking. Sorry.
It could have been John Wayne Gacy. Could you imagine him being your dad?
Oh,
yeah. Anyway,
which brings murders that were in 1927 or whatever, because nobody else is still around, so we're not going to have so many horrible feelings.
That's actually a sociological theory, is why ghost stories where ghosts are never contemporary, they're always older. There's about a 50 to 60 year comfort zone between when death happened and when the ghost story gets retold.
So now
that's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
It gives
it's
everyone
okay to talk about and make fun of, or
basically. So that actually, when we get ghost stories that are contemporary to the time, it's more amazing and they sound more truthful because we don't usually get immediate ghosts. It's very rare when that happens in folklore. But speaking about violence and illustrating that, I
Mhm.
remember, Lauren, when we were talking about the gun going off. How do we illustrate that? That was a tricky movement of illustration, essentially, because our biggest purchase, our biggest buyers of this comics trilogy are 8-year-olds and their families. And
As I recall, Kat, you're the one that recommended the story.
I was. Um, there's witches that are hanging from a tree,
Okay.
but I do put a PG rating when I'm selling the book. I'm like, this is definitely, if you're a parent, read the book first. If this
Mhm.
is something you find touchy, don't get it for them.
Yeah.
Most parents are like, no, this sounds cool. Yoink. And that happens. But Lauren, do you want to talk about what we had to adjust with the gun panel, if you
Um,
remember at all?
I know I had to make it a lot more cartoony. I've got
Yeah.
the page.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I don't remember if I had a little more details on the gun itself, and then we change it to silhouette.
Yeah. So
Okay.
originally, the thumbnail that you sent, because I have
Wow.
all the creators, all the illustrators do thumbnails before we get to those larger page, because I don't want people putting in hours and hours of time and then have massive edits.
Mhm.
And Lauren, your thumbnails were some of the cleanest, most easy to understand out of everyone. I'm not putting everyone else down, but Lauren, the way that you do thumbnails should be taught in art classes, because for editors who request these thumbnails, it was so easy to read and understand what was happening.
Very
But
easy. A very sharp mechanical pencil, so I can draw tiny.
yes,
I'm amazed. The last time I saw you, you were showing me what you were working on, and you work so small.
yeah.
I'm like, how can you
Yes,
see
thumbnails are
that?
not supposed to be big. They're not layouts. They're
I
supposed to be
know.
small and fast and easy to
But
understand.
even in that tiny version, it was complete. It
Yeah.
looked complete to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was amazing.
that was where we caught the full-on gun, and I was just like, no, we got to go with Hanna-Barbera cartoon level. It has to be in silhouette,
Mhm.
just so, and then you can't see any blood, so it's just a big bang instead. But I like how we were able to edit that, but still stay true to the story.
Well, yeah, you got the gist of it. I mean, you don't need much more than that
No,
there.
no,
I
no.
mean, especially everybody is so familiar, unfortunately, with gun violence that there's not much imagination needed there.
Yeah, that's true, and it's still, yeah, people are okay with it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, but this is somebody who died.
Yeah.
So
It looks beautiful though, Lauren.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's our headlining comic of the book. It's the one
Oh, it
that
is?
comes first. Yes, it is, because
know
Tim and I
that.
were so impressed with all. Yeah, you two are first. We're so impressed. So whenever, for our media kit, when people ask for panels and pages, this Lauren's work is the one that both of your work, because you did the words and Lauren did the art.
Yeah.
And that's the first one that gets presented, because
Well,
it's
Lauren,
just
those
so well
pages are
done.
mine. I'm buying them from you, and I'm hanging them up in my living room.
Aw.
Yes.
Yeah. They're gorgeous. Well done, both of you. I'm so proud to have worked with you on this project.
Well, thank you for including me. I know.
Yeah.
Again, it's never something I thought I would do.
And now you want to do more.
I do. I pitched an idea to Kat last year that I haven't worked on.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sold on this, but I need more information. And then there was nothing.
No.
And
But
I'm like,
in my defense, you have also been very busy. So
I've been trying to finish this project. We're about a year behind.
But at least it's about done and out of your schedule. So that's the best
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
a
can
good
finally
feeling.
celebrate the artwork and everyone that put time into this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very happy to be able to do the party and host it with other creators and just
Yeah.
celebrate Cincinnati local comics, because everyone who worked on the project is from Cincinnati, lives in Cincinnati. It's definitely the heart of what connects all of us, and also the love of strange stories. Yeah.
You know
Excellent.
what, Kat? Send a press kit to Hierophany and Hedge.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I think
I
they
will do
would
that.
sell it there.
It would be very bright in their store. Just the cover is
They've
bright pink.
got some stuff that's that bright there though. It
Yeah,
would be
they
fine.
do. They do.
And
Okay.
they have some great cryptid books in there too.
Oh, they
That
do.
is true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will contact them. Thank you for the suggestions.
Yeah.
Also, like, I'm always taking suggestions for more places to take the book.
And the launch
so.
party, is it open to the public?
It is.
Okay.
It is open to the public between 7 and 9 p.m. at Indy, Northern Kentucky in Dayton, Ohio. It's a small bookstore, and we'll be there. I'm flying in from Seattle just because I'm excited. There's Frogman Festival as well if you can't make it to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lauren, before we end the show tonight, because I think, Christina, you were correct. This is a very long episode. Where can people find you? What projects are you working on? Like, just tell us where we can continue seeing all your awesome art.
I am Winged Elf Girl on social media. I mostly use Instagram and Blue Sky lately. And my current project is with Not So Super Publishing, which is a small company in North Carolina run by Jacques Niem, who wrote the graphic novel that I'm illustrating right now.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
It's
Which
a
is
fantasy
looking cool.
story for elementary age.
Oh,
Aw.
nice. When is that supposed to come out? Do you know? I understand. I
As
understand.
of right now, I'm like 43 of the 63 pages I have like tight roughs of, and those are pretty much ready to print out large, and I'm gonna light box ink them onto nicer paper.
Jesus.
Mhm.
Wow.
Is that how you did these pages, is with a light box as well?
Yes. Yeah. In my I forgot, in my portfolio I've got the printouts where I
Mhm.
kind of I like physically cut some things out and scooted them around and taped it back together before I like put it together on the light box, because then I don't have to erase any pencil lines. I just don't want to do that.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Because they don't always fully go away, do they?
Yeah.
No.
Collective
Oh.
laziness.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Well, that
exciting.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
I just want to say one more thing.
Mhm.
Lauren, I love how your process is you draw everything out and then you kind of do it digitally and you kind of not, but that you're still very, like cutting pieces out and gluing them together, you're in
Old
it.
school.
Yeah, that's old school.
I like
Yeah,
it. Not to
that's-
knock digital either, because I like that too. And I like how you do both.
Yeah. Digital's really good for some things, but I've kind of been deliberately doing things by hand the last several years because I'm just real mad about AI.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Like-
that could be a whole other discussion. Although,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to get into it.
No, it's so late already.
Yeah, it's too late.
We'll put that down. Make a note. Put a sticky note.
Yeah.
For next time.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, that's for a different
Christina-
podcast.
Yeah, it's a different podcast.
I'm like,
Christina, what are you up to?
Oh, me? Well, I talked about it earlier. I mean, I'm just painting all day on this Denny Joe book, and then I'll be working on my next Kew Gardens book, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to work on getting this Romania travelogue together,
Mhm.
which that actually takes me the longest because I have to put everything in InDesign and actually finish doing the writing takes me the longest.
Yeah.
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 Of anything. I mean, I tried to be really good when I was in Argentina and write every day, and I still have a lot to make up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's hard. You're trying to go out and have fun. You have a full day. You come back, you're tired. Last thing you
Yeah.
want to do is write everything down. I don't blame
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And
So,
people
and what
can
are you
find
working on,
you,
Kat? Oh, go on. Sorry.
yeah, at ChristinaWald.com. And what's your Blue Sky account?
It is, I believe, just Christina Wald. Let me see here. It is, yeah, Christina Wald at Blue Sky Social. So it's all one word.
All right.
So this time when I claimed it, I was like, I'm just going to do my name, because I know when I first was doing social media, everybody was using like not their names,
Yeah.
and so I didn't get my name on certain social media and use something else, and now I'm trying to get, my name in and stuff. What are you working on, Kat?
Oh, I am actually working, speaking about physical media, this is a page from Mercy Brown Needs a Friend,
Oh, neat.
which is my horror comic. Yes, I
Can
do
you
everything.
hold it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see.
Ta-da! Look, it's Ghost
Oh,
as
nice.
a skeleton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a nice friend.
Will
Yeah,
that
I
be
know.
done for Frogman?
Sorry?
Will that be done by Frogman?
It will not be done or printed by
Okay.
Frogman. I am
Okay.
purely focusing on the cabinet and having that all promoted and printed and ready for
Okay.
everyone.
Okay.
This is my March, basically.
Okay.
March 2025. I'm going to be getting back to that. And I'm also working on a comic that's for middle grade and high school readers, which is called Dinosaur Necromancer, which I've mentioned in the past. And that one is I'm making it for the Japanese Manga Award. So it needs to be
Yes.
done by April.
Oh
Okay.
dear.
So I'm gonna be very busy in March and April. The last minute would be July of 2025.
When's your next convention? Besides, I mean, obviously the next one's Frogman, but what's after that?
Thank you for asking. This is a lower convention year, so I only have 2 conventions that I'm going to this year. First is Frogman. Thank you for bringing that up, Christina. And the second one is, yet again, you'll be able to see me at the Alaska State Convention Center in Juneau, Alaska on
Neat.
May 17th for the Alaska Robotics Mini-Con. This is my 3rd year in a row, and physical copies of Dinosaur Necromancer will be ready for that.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
it's Dinosaur Necromancer is my little love letter to early 90s adventure comics and like
Aw.
Legend of Zelda and that kind of adventure comic thing.
Oh,
Awesome.
Adventure media. So yay, I'm working on both of those at the same time. I am maybe slightly bananas for doing that, but here we are. But I'm excited. All of it's done on physical media, so I do it on pages, just like Lauren. So that's why I'm always curious and taking notes mentally. I'm like, oh, so you put it all down on a layout, and then you can move everything around before you lightbox it. Oh, that's a
how
good
cool.
idea. Yeah. So
one thing I've never done that I desperately want to try, Danielle Corsetto does all of that digitally and then flips it. And she does, including the lettering, and then prints it on the back of the paper and then puts it on a light box and then inks over it, including the lettering. All of it.
Wow.
I've heard
Really
this
wanna do that.
described, and my brain can't get around that. I get lost, and I'm sitting there vacant, staring at the wall, going, "Huh?" I'm that meme with all the numbers around it, and trying to go like, "Huh? You don't understand." But yeah, that's amazing what Danielle does.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you can find me at Blue Sky at Red Cat Comics bsky.social. And I'm Red Cat because no one can spell Cloco.
Oh my gosh, Kat, I mess it up
every time
all the time.
And that is why I'm Red Cat. So
I have to say clock ow to myself all the time when I'm trying to spell it. And I still get it wrong. And I always go to your social media to figure out how to spell it.
Oh, I love that. The funniest variation we've gotten on our last name is Cluckman. And we're like, how on earth did you get Cluckman?
It was funny because
from?
I love how names get messed up. Like my husband's name is Troy Cooksey, and there was a convention that sent us for years a like flyer for Todd Corsley, and we used to say that was his alter ego was Todd.
He's out there doing
It
things.
was such a wonderful mess up of his name.
Oh, wow,
that's
that is
funny.
brilliant.
Impressive.
Todd Corsley.
Todd
Aw.
Corsley. Should the next holiday card be to Christina Wald and Todd Corsley?
And
100%.
Todd, yes.
All right. On that note, thank you everyone for joining us for another wonderful episode of the Hometown Haunts podcast. I am Kat Cloco, along with Jen Kohler and Christina Wald, with our special guest Lauren Sparks and the special guest in the background, Todd Corsley. We will be back. You can send your ghost stories to hometownhauntedmail@gmail.com. We are always looking for your own personal accounts of the strange and spooky from your neck of the woods. For now, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.